Lugi Lilo Manai, swing Willem Machine, Calais, Tayani. Calais, like Calais, so that, and I had to Matibu Lasso alone Yadavati there. And I Jalani 3 ways. I'm only let the Joy Avasi. Calais and Yaji, Abuma Lugi, Batana, Malaysia, don't need pay all we will. Lugita Matana. Yes.
A report by the American State Department says the Burmese regime routinely uses forced labor and that this railway will transport soldiers and supplies into the area where a billion-dollar gas pipeline is being built for the regime by the French oil company Total, which is part owned by the French government, and the American company Unocal. The children here are being forced to work in temperatures of 35 degrees centigrade. They carry heavy loads of clay on their heads. This girl fell back exhausted, holding a disjointed shoulder. This boy is 10 years old. He has this job because he is small enough to fit in the hole directly beneath the grinder. But as we discovered, it's highly dangerous work. The children are forced to make bricks for the army, who then sell them back to the railway construction company. This load of clay, as heavy as wet cement, almost buried the boy. We stopped filming and quickly pulled him free. The other children would not have had the strength to save him. How many, we wondered, die like this? More than half the national budget of Burma goes on the army, guns, and the means of repression, much of it paid for with foreign exchange. To the generals in Rangoon, tourism provides this money, along with a dubious respectability, as foreigners are carefully guided to the country's magnificent, silent monuments.
Is that as high as it goes?
6 weeks.
I know this isn't fair, Patsy, but I have longer legs than you do.
Usma. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, it's fabulous. It is.
Denise, tu descends?
Technique.
Try and fix it.
Oh, are you watching me? This is the way to go down.
You want to get your hand out of the way down and step over.
How did you come down?
And just use the banister as support. You
Just follow me. If you fall, I'll stop you.
And then you roll your skirt up.
These tourists are unaware that the local people they meet risk imprisonment if they speak too freely to them. Our soldiers, says the Minister of Tourism, are here to protect you. The British built this guest house around the time that Rudyard Kipling was writing The Road to Mandalay. I wonder if he'd recognize the Burma of his dreams today. According to the regime, in the year of the tourist, and I quote, "Roads will be wider, lights will be brighter, grass will be greener, and tours will be cleaner." Pick up a travel brochure these days from any of the famous names, British Airways, Kuoni, Orient Express, and you would be pardoned for thinking that the same Ministry of Propaganda supplied the copy. For example, to find an unspoilt country today may seem impossible, but Burma is such a place. Indeed, Rangoon means end of strife. It's easy to see why. Its easygoing ways are a tonic to the Western traveller. It's a tonic that doesn't come cheap in one of the world's poorest countries. A cruise up the Irrawaddy to Mandalay will cost you more than £2,000 for just 11 days. However, there is a Kipling piano bar, and it says here, ensuite cabins that are not just simply luxurious, but include the latest satellite TV, video, and your own personal safe. And in the evenings, gentlemen will feel relaxed in a jacket and tie, and ladies in a dress. What sound advice! And that's not all. There's a free lecture on Burma's history and culture. But you don't get this in the lecture. These are prisoners restoring the moat of the Imperial Palace in Mandalay in preparation for the Year of the Tourist. The regime says they are criminals in a country where writing a poem or singing a song calling for democracy can get you 10 years hard labour. And here is the moat, finished. All it needs is tourists. Brian Whittaker, an Australian lawyer, witnessed slave labour when he and his wife Jacqueline flew into a new tourist airport in the north of Burma.
We heard the clinking of chains, and we went outside and noticed about 30 people crushing rock by hand, and one of them raised his prison uniform at the legs to display manacles which were running across his ankles. He then quietly lifted his shirt, which showed a chain around his waist, and from my memory he also had a manacle around his neck. And one of the officials informed us that the prisoners were political prisoners.
He told you they were political prisoners?
Yes, he very explicitly said that they were political prisoners.
The Burmese government have said, when questioned about this by human rights organisations, that this is a traditional voluntary form of labour.
That's rubbish. It was clearly not voluntary. You don't volunteer to crush rock dressed in threadbare uniform in the freezing cold with chains all over your body and standing under guard. I'm familiar with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and I believe that what I observed was a clear breach of the provisions and the articles relating to forcible work and slavery.
Forced labor goes on all over the country, but a lot of these projects are aimed at the tourist trade, tourist industry. They are meant for tourists, building roads, building bridges. So we do not think that it's a good idea to promote Visit Myanmar 1996, which is not to say that tourists should stay away forever from Burma. After all, Burma will always be here. And one day when it's a democratic Burma, I think it will be a place that tourists will enjoy visiting, and they need not have any qualms about visiting it.
These prisoners are preparing a tourist attraction in Mandalay. The actual road to Mandalay has recently been converted to an expressway. For the local people forced to work on it, it's known as the Road of No Return. According to Amnesty, 2 workers who tried to escape were executed by soldiers on the spot. One was hacked to death. Mr. Sherwood, last year your company signed a deal for $35 million with the Burmese regime. What does that involve?
Well, it's basically an investment in ships and shore facilities for the development of river tourism in Burma.
Did you consider all the implications of Burma's rather appalling record as far as human rights are concerned before you went in with this project?
Well, I did, and I've tried to investigate these allegations about human rights infringements. It's very hard to pin them down. People make these accusations or allegations. I immediately try to see if there's any proof to them. I can't find it, but of course I accept that I cannot visit all of Burma, and my visits are limited to the principal cities, so perhaps that's out of sight, out of mind attitude. So I can't speak any further than my personal knowledge.